Why is that? Okay, hold on. There we go. Wait, if I click... I'm learning new things real quick. I'm learning new things really fast. If I type... Okay. Okay. I'm learning how to do background producer stuff for this. We're gonna start soon. Host Harv is chilling real quick. What this? This is Insight Check. You'll enjoy it. I have Hannah and Randy on the other side of this in disembodied voices for now. I'll be the disembodied voice in a second.
Oh shit.
Oh shit. Hannah, I like your glasses.
Thank you. Oh, am I still wearing these? Shit.
It's very
Keep 'em on. It's good
How
look.
do you forget you're wearing rose-colored glasses?
Keep them on. It's good look.
You know,
It's good look.
I'm
Good
just,
look, good
I'm
look.
so positive that I always feel like
Your
I'm wearing
entire world being pink wasn't didn't
No.
suggest.
No. People use channel points to get me to wear weird stuff on my channel, and they had me wear these, and I forgot I was wearing them.
Yeah.
Huh. All right.
One entertaining conversation. Thanks, Randy. And with that, we're out. Thanks, everyone. Can people hear us?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Hi, chat. A lot of you probably came from my chat, because I rated. Hi, I'm also here,
That's true.
though you can't see me.
We're not. We don't have to vamp for time.
I think we do. We gotta.
I just like letting Hannah kind of uncomfortably fill every silence.
Oh, that explains a lot about our conversations, because
Yeah.
I feel like
Randy offers
bring
a
a lot
lot
of
of silence from time to time, so.
I do.
I feel like I bring a lot of manic energy, and Randy just absorbs it like an unmovable force.
That's right. Just like
Yeah.
just
Pretty much. Yeah.
See, what I think it is meter at the pass is kind of is what my strategy's always been.
Well, that's why I'm using this performance-enhancing drug today.
There you go. That works for me. Makes me chatty. All right, so we're just waiting a sec for Harv, who apparently had to wrap a few things up, so no big deal.
How dare you?
But I am learning in the background how to do producer mode on all of this. So I have some other applications for this skill. It's been nice. It's actually pretty easy. Have you ever used the director mode or whatever in OBS? No.
Nope.
It's,
What's the difference?
I mean, it allows you to, well, you have multiple screens, and you pick which one basically sends signal to chat. And,
Interesting.
And it's sort of so you can like make, sometimes you gotta do stuff on the fly, and you move your overlay around.
Yeah.
In front, like you could just do it at the same time as having a different overlay up.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea.
So strange seeing the room in daytime. Yeah, a lot of natural light. That's okay.
Jesus Christ.
Oliver.
Do you call him Ollie when he's not being bad?
Yeah, he's usually Ollie. He's Ollie,
Oliver.
Oliver, Olive.
Her ramble was just a gorilla.
Miko has turned into Miko Biko, or Bleeko, or recently, Cheeky Brico, Chico Brico, which is sort of a Tarkov thing.
We had to call him Orlando once because that was his birth name that they gave him at the shelter.
What was Miko's birth name? What? Or not birth name, but I guess like
you know what I mean.
Shelter
Shady
name.
His
Shelter
Christian name?
his government name. What was Miko's government name? Sarah might remember. I don't know if she's watching yet.
My cat's was Shane.
Baylor? It was fucking Baylor.
Baylor?
Which would be cool if he was an old, majestic, liger of a cat.
Yeah.
But he's not. He's a surly prince.
Baylor sounds like a character from Neverending Story.
Baylor is a...
a demon.
It's a demon thing, yeah.
Huh.
It's a demon. It's well, it's in similar vein to the Lord of the Rings Balrog, sometimes like Baelors or sometimes represented very similarly. I actually have. Here you go, chat. You guys can look at something other than my face. We have a Baelor. We've got one of those. Oh, we probably gotta go to demons, huh? Demons, Baelor. You see? Oh, I'll just bring the whole thing, huh? We'll bring the whole dang crew. Oh yeah, and then I gotta. There we go. See? It's got a sword and a little whip. It's exactly like what was happening with Gandalf. Who, by the way, 1v1 to challenge 19.
I still
A CR19.
I still haven't. I haven't seen Lotor.
You don't have to have seen it. You should see it.
I'll see it eventually. It's just
We could
long.
get- we
It's so
could-
long.
It is long. That's the point. You gotta watch the extended editions. They're even longer ones.
Yeah, they're like, aren't they like 4 hours long or something with the extended edition?
3 something. I kind of the way I have them is you know, you can watch them intently, but I've seen them so many times that I just like passively sort of have them on sometimes. Especially because HBO Max now has the extended editions and I don't have to swap out the Blu-rays.
Hmm.
Know what I'm saying? Oh, we almost have a Harv. There it goes. Okay, hold on. Well, it did for a second. There it went again. Ooh, I like that shirt, dude. Okay, so now I can't hear you though.
Can't hear you.
Yeah. So I gotta move around your stuff anyway. So, Hannah's in the Randy spot.
Just call me Randy.
I would.
I'm a doctor who wants a free prescription. Vicodin, you got it.
That's how that works.
Yeah, I do that all the time, actually.
Nice. A free prescription?
Well, the pharmacy collects the money.
Just write on it, please give free. And then like a
I'll try-
smiley
I'll try
face.
it. I'm sure
Ooh.
capitalism will acquiesce to my professional medical opinion.
Yeah.
And
That'd be okay.
superimpose their own over it.
Nope, not hearing you now. All you have to do is select the correct thing, but I don't know. User settings, voice and video, input device, whatever that headset is. Sometimes it's because did you plug it in after you opened Discord or anything? Because sometimes that's it, like Discord has to shut off and turn back on.
Is your mic open in any other
That could happen too.
program?
Did you say plurgram?
No. Program.
Did program come out or did I hear plurgram?
I
don't
heard
know.
Pilgrim.
Plurgram?
Plurgram.
Hey,
It can't be open in any plurgram or program.
No
So you know.
plurgrams, no programs, none of them. I
Nope,
see
can't hear.
gesticulation,
I see-
but I don't
no.
hear the words accompanying them.
Is your mic plugged in?
And guys, I really want to show
we're
you
taking
this
this
shirt.
back to square one.
I really want to show you this fashionable.
It's incredible. Sure.
The host. Normally, I wouldn't even be on here.
Are we about to go host a Twitch channel or have some drinks down on the beach? I can't even tell.
Maybe both. Honestly, Twitch stream from a beach sounds great.
You can be
Campaign
nearly
finale,
naked
it's
in
like
that
check on
case
the
too.
beach.
You can be nearly naked.
Yeah, I'll wear a rockin' bikini.
A rockin'
And-
bikini.
Yeah, and Randy can wear a speedo,
Oh yeah.
or vice versa, whatever the audience wants. Honestly,
We just need that pluralgram. Yeah, we heard pluralgram. Pluralgram.
Jake still has to wear the corn suit.
Can I be like properly clothed underneath it, or which means not very much?
Can we put a thong on the
Cornkini.
corn suit and kind of thread it through the kernels?
Yes.
It doesn't really have kernels like that.
Oh, we'll get you one with kernels.
You're gonna be like a premium mascot
Yeah,
with like
I'll commission
thick,
some. That's fine.
thick kernels. I don't want to. I don't. Okay, we don't need the fursuit equivalent. We don't need the quality a fursuit provides.
I want him to jiggle a little when you move.
Jiggle a little. So you want them to have titty physics?
Yeah.
What if every colonel was a titty?
Exactly.
That's pretty good.
What we're thinking here.
If every colonel was a titty, what if they were all more like butts?
I think you get diminishing returns on Colonel titties.
I agree
After
too.
like 4, you're like, eh.
I feel like the whole thing is too much.
Yeah.
It's kind of why titties are nice. They're. It's not too much. It's like bacon, right? I feel like you can have too much bacon on like a burger. You want the burger to shine.
Bacon is an accent, not the main course. And then the whole 2012 bacon meme culture ruined bacon for everyone.
2012 bacon meme culture. True.
You know what I mean.
I do, and I agree with you. I that sort of, and that was also partly Islamophobia.
Oh God, was it?
Yeah, it was all, they were like rubbing bullets with bacon grease and shit. Like, which is interesting because like of all the weird like sort of racist things you could do, that one's the most dumb because
that's
none of it's real.
Works.
None of it's real. So
even no.
How
nothing.
come you can't? Why are you boomering out on Discord? Huh? What's with this activity here?
You made sure you went under settings, voice and video, and the correct one, right?
Oh, I accidentally muted just Discord chat. You're welcome for that. I just blew my nose right into chat. That's fine. I don't care.
Get the first time.
Well, I was trying to save them from it because, but it's oh well.
Do I hear something?
I'm hearing.
You may hear something. I don't know if it is my...
Doesn't matter. Sounds good. Yep.
Yeah, buddy.
That's the one.
Hey! What the
good?
hell?
Yeah, I think it sounds good.
Good enough.
Good enough, for sure. Okay.
Possible.
So check this out.
I don't know ASL, so this is the only way we're going to do it.
I disappear now. To the background.
Bye.
To the background. I mean, you'll still see me. To the background.
But they won't.
Chat,
it's acting, Jake. Verisimilitude, you fuck.
Thank you. I don't know anything about that. Thank you for hanging out for a second. I turn all of this over. I'll never talk again this entire time, I'm sure.
Just like the first episode, clearly.
Inside check.
All right. Looks like we're going. Welcome back, everyone, to the second episode of Insight Check. I am your illustrious host, Harvey Manfred Jensenden. We are hopefully past all of the technical problems on my end, but we'll see. I got a loose dog here who may start barking, so stand by for that. We have Hannah and Randy joining us today, your two other favorite players. Hannah, Randy, you guys want to say hello?
Hi, how's everyone doing? I just got done with another stream. I know how to talk to a camera. I know how to do this good.
Hi, my name is Randy. That's it. That's what I need to say.
No, I started with enough energy for both of us.
Yeah,
That's
you
intentional.
sure did.
You're welcome.
Brevity is the soul of wit, right? Well, just in case somebody is tuning in for the first time or hasn't caught up or needs a refresher, do you guys want to introduce yourselves a little bit and also your characters and kind of where you guys are at in the campaign?
Randy, you go first. I started last time.
Oh, how courteous. Yeah, my name is Randy. In real life, I play a doctor and scream a lot about how capitalism ruins my job. And in the D&D game, I play Soren Lazarus, who we know is a warlock. We haven't gotten into much beyond that, but he is also an author from the Soren Nation and is currently traveling with the party in Ebon Falls.
I'm Hannah. I don't have a real life because I am a streamer. I do this for a living, except on my channel, twitch.tv/HannahReloaded. Follow. And then in the Charisma Saves campaign, In the Charisma Saves campaign, I play a Tabaxi rogue named Ink on Skin, who does her best to get by life in the big city. Thievery, doing odd jobs for various organizations or individuals, trying to figure out what happened to her sister who was killed after a strange incident involving the long way down, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point in this stream.
Yeah, almost certainly. You guys are in the middle of your first crack at the crack.
First of many.
I want to clarify. I specifically said to Jake, he was like, you can come up with whatever name that maybe people colloquially call the long way down. And I was like, the crack. And then I was like, wait, no, not the crack. We should never call it the crack, because then everyone will call it the crack and we'll make jokes about calling it the crack. And now everyone calls it the crack, because I think I slipped up once and said the crack, and that's my fault. I apologize.
It was always going to be the crack.
I love that you habitually calling it the crack is slipping up once.
No, okay, it started with once, and then someone else said it, and then it just became a thing. It's
Technically,
canon now.
everything starts with once.
You can't roll back canon. Randy, how dare you? Your statement is both accurate and infuriating to me.
That's exactly my niche.
You just don't I understand that you don't want to be responsible for inspiring a generation of crackheads, but the damage is done.
Wait, where's my? Hold on, I have a thing for. Hold on.
You have a thing?
If you come back with a crack pipe,
Wait, why do we have crack-related props?
Say your one-liner again.
What's the one?
Oh, you don't want to be responsible for inspiring a generation of crackheads?
You're welcome.
Wow.
Should have just saved the crash of that for the symbols. Well, yeah. Let's kind of start high level, because I'm interested to know. I don't know. I kind of like talking about the process, or the just how you guys come up with the characters, where you find your inspiration, and just how you started from the inspiration to what we've ended up on screen or on the table, or whatever. For instance, Hannah, there's clearly a little bit of Indiana Jones going on there.
How dare you say something that would imply copyright infringement? How dare you? No. Yeah, there's definitely similar to my first character in campaign 1, which was the professor. There were definitely bits of Doctor Who in there. I wanted to do something a little different for campaign 2, and this was a character that I had thought about for a while. I actually played a similar version of this character it was going to be a campaign, but it was a one-shot that Alex DM'd. Although at that point, Ink was a guy, because I think this was prior to me coming out as trans. It might have been a long time ago. I don't remember. Either way, I don't know. I just like the idea of someone in sort of a D&D setting who does magical artifacts, goes around these ancient dungeons and stuff, and in a sort of stereotypically Indiana Jones fashion, knows about stuff like that and deals with magical stuff without having an innate connection to magic. Like, not a wizard or anything like that, just someone who kind of is knowledgeable about it to the extent that it allows them to make money or whatever searching for these items. And there's more of that kind of coming with as we level up and some of the subclass features kick in. But that was my main thought.
Awesome. So you, as far as we know, you are a rogue. Are you a standard rogue, or is there some fun custom stuff coming up?
It's a custom subclass that Jake and I talked about and he made. I assume it'll, once that's revealed, go up for maybe sale like he has with Batmonk and some of the other ones.
Yeah.
There he is. See, ooh, disembodied voice telling us about future DM's Guild sales.
Yes, it will be for purchase.
But yeah, can I tell them the name of it? Do you care? It's not like a spoiler necessarily.
Go ahead, just the name.
Okay. The Dungeoneering Rogue will go up at some point, and yes, it is a custom subclass that has sort of fun features. Again, not to spoil, but once we hit 3rd level, some of those will kick in, and you'll see some of the fun stuff that Ink is going to be able to do. The one that we already have, I guess, revealed, but I think that was more of a gun feature, but it definitely has to do with her character, is the oh god, what's it called, Jake?
Fanning the
Fanning the
hammer.
hammer.
Yeah, fanning the hammer. Yeah, I think that's fun and fits into sort of what's going on with the character. The rest you'll see, but yes, there's stuff coming up. Sorry, I'm verbose.
That's why you make a great guest. Randy, be
All right.
verbose. So you kind of alluded earlier that Soren is also a flavored warlock. I don't know how much your NDA allows you to reveal about that, but I'm interested to learn about that, and also what's where you drew your inspiration from. Soren is an author, and we've seen more than a little bit of that kind of come into play. Did you draw any? Well, I assume you drew some from some real world authors. There's definitely a little bit of Lovecraft going on in there.
Yeah, I think a lot of Soren's foundation as a character comes from the idea of what if Lovecraft wasn't a racist shitbag? Because he dealt with psychoses throughout childhood and into adulthood, and the things he dealt with from that flavored his writings too. So I wanted to kind of play with those ideas without the baggage. And then from there, we kind of filled out a little bit more of like his present story and kind of his travel through the war and things that have come up a little bit. But I think a lot of it was largely influenced by Lovecraft and his writing.
Was Lovecraft? Did he serve in the war? Or is that separate inspiration?
That was independent that we added.
It's more like Tolkien.
I couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of more Tolkien.
No, go ahead. If you have more to say.
I was just going to say, as far as like the actual class mechanically that I'm playing, I think I'm the only one who's all official published material. But I'll kind of wait to reveal the actual subclass and the patron, although I think some people have probably figured out the patron already. The only change we made was using intelligence as his spellcasting instead of charisma.
I do have a regret about this. We talked about this the other day in the living room. We should have played it off as a wizard. Like, we should have just told Sarah it was wizard, which would have been a little bit more interesting for everybody else, but it really didn't matter. I think it was cool. When you showed him the tattoo, it would have been over anyway. So, that was cool. But I what I wanted to say is, though we are not using a custom subclass for Randy's character this time, I made the most custom subclasses for Randy for this campaign than anybody else. But we didn't use some of those. So any that we don't see may pop up in the campaign, and I will publish them as normal. So we have a couple in fact, like a really cool sorcerer idea that I really liked, and we stuck with for a long time. But
I still want to use that, so probably in a future character. But yeah, we went through a lot of ideas before we landed on this one.
Hell yeah. So what kind of alluded to the fact that people are kind of cottoning on to who your patron is, or at least some clues. Does Soren have any ideas as to who the patron is?
No, he has no idea. He just knows or believes that something is responsible for his affliction and is trying to find some solid ground to start researching from. But he doesn't really have much idea at all.
I mean, makes sense. So kind of circling back to Hannah, what you're talking about with ink kind of being the magical artifact, kind of dungeon delver sort of thing. Someone on Discord, Trey, asked, in a world with a massive deficit of magic, how do your characters view the magic of the past? Because both of your characters would be younger than the moon crash. Everyone in the party, I think, is younger than the moon crash.
Soren
Ink
is
was like 5
30
when the moon crash happened.
Oh, okay.
I think he was a couple of years old, right?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we had talked about him being maybe a little bit older, but not having any memories of it, or right around that time.
Yeah, because the moon crash was how many years before?
30.
So he was 1.
Yeah. So a bab.
Yeah.
The twins were younger though.
In terms of like Ink's perspective on magic, I think it comes down to the fact that her view of the world is painted by a lot of the disparity between the very rich and the very poor in the city, and growing up in sort of the shadow of the fact that this entire city is built upon the very rich taking advantage of the very poor. So I think she probably views magic and how it used to exist as just another tool that people with resources would use in order to, again, have something over the poor. You know what I mean? I just think she also sees it as somewhat negative because of what happened to her sister, but not hard opinions. I don't think she's like, oh, this is terrible. She's just like, oh, it's another avenue of power that can be exploited or used to people's ends, which often are not great, but
Sure. Randy, you
yeah,
I was just gonna-
for Soren, I think the Zellerin Nation is much more open with magic use. They didn't kind of shy away from it like the rest of the continent did after the moon crash. It still operates largely as a magocracy. So he doesn't have the same reservations that the rest of the party has about high level magic as we've experienced once before. And on a personal level, whatever is happening to him is not a natural phenomenon. It's operating under unsub or supernatural forces, as Tom Stoppard said. So he's kind of pursuing magical studies and magical secrets to try and figure out what the fuck this is and how to make it stop.
Yeah, that all makes sense. We haven't really talked too much about Soren's homeland. Hasn't really come up. We know that he's from the north. I mean, we know kind of where he's from, but the players, the characters, just kind of accept it as we would, geographically. Somebody saying I'm from over there. Did you have any input into the culture or where he was from? Was that something that Jake kind of developed in the world building kind of thing?
I had some input into it. I mean, Jake had a couple of ideas as far as what the Zellerin Nation would be like, and as we did our session 0 and kind of fleshed out the character more, we kind of came up with ideas and agreed on what we thought fit best for his backstory, who he was. So that kind of became the final instance of the Zellerin Nation.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Well, let's kind of talk just a little bit more generally, just about kind of the campaign and where you guys have ended up, because you guys have been, I mean, probably in terms of miles, not very far, but you've kind of been all over the place in 10, 11 sessions. Is there anything that stuck out at you? I don't know, that you just really liked, a particular encounter, a particular set piece?
I think Soren really enjoyed Vaudeville when they went to that, and that kind of boisterous drinking culture kind of reminded him a little bit of being with his friends in the military, and kind of those good nights when things weren't too hot and they could relax a little bit. It was a little bit nostalgic for him. So he enjoyed that, and he likes just having like the warehouse is a space that they can kind of customize and make their own. That's something that he hasn't really had in quite some time either.
I mean, from a viewer perspective, and just somebody who also kind of plays D&D, like I personally really enjoy when it's those festival things. I mean, that session there was no real conflict. I mean, conflict. There were a few rolls and stuff like that, but it was just like a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I have accidentally made you all very, very worried about parties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I intentionally. There was a chance for some other stuff had you interacted certain ways, but you avoided all my fun because you were professionals for once in your lives.
You Pavloved us. It's not our fault.
I
Save
missed
those
like
activities
the
for
big
future
early
events.
on ones. Like I wasn't there when Gygax blew up, so I don't have quite the same level of apprehension. But yeah, you guys are pretty fucked up.
You know, other than the city blowing up, the Gygax festival was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Other than
Wrestled
everyone
pigs.
dying at the end.
Yeah, you missed out. It was good.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, Hannah, anything that you particularly that you really stood out to you, or that you just had a lot of fun doing as Ink, other than just getting on Isabella's nerves?
Honestly, this is gonna maybe a strange thing, but I did like the entire scenario with Ink trailing the woman from the bookshop to try and rob her, and her disappearing. I don't know if we'll ever see her again, or if she's potentially someone Jake just made up on the spot. Don't know. But I found that to be fun. That was a good encounter. It was a nice Ink being in over her head moment of like, oh no, this is someone with magic. They're way more powerful than me. This was a mistake. And just the paranoia. Ink is a very paranoid person just by nature. So the idea that now there might be an invisible person at any given time around her, that's fun to me. I don't know.
I mean, that just kind of segues right into something else I was going to ask, which was give me a number, scale of 1 to 10. Hannah the player, Ink the character. How worried are you about that person popping back up again?
Me the person, out of 10, maybe 3. Ink is probably a 9. Just because Ink's been trying to survive her whole life, just like trying to get by. It's not good to make enemies, much less ones you can't see coming. I don't know. It's just.
I mean, you may have unwittingly created your own nemesis that's going to come back when you're like level 18 and just kneecap you.
If that happens, I'll probably have a more powerful gun by then. So that's fine. You can still shoot stuff that's invisible. It's just you gotta be careful with your aim.
As someone who's been on the receiving end of friendly fire from you twice, please be very careful.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. You've only been whipped. I only whipped you.
Twice!
It's fine.
That's a lot in 11 sessions.
It's okay. So average that out. You'll get whipped 100 more times during this campaign.
That's so many.
We're averaging 0 shots to the face, is all I'm saying. We're averaging.
That should not be our bar.
That's the bar. That's the bar. Live with it.
It's like 18%.
That's true. Stop standing within 10 feet of me.
That's a good point. Fair.
I mean,
fair.
Ink does tend to just bust out the gun like Frank Reynolds at any opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
When you said friendly fire, and then you mentioned that it was a whip, I completely, I was just like, did you get shot? And I just didn't.
No, you, like I said, Ink is the very paranoid character. She's concerned constantly that people are going to either attack her or there's going to be some sort of monster. It helps to be prepared. If sometimes you accidentally shoot someone, it's fine. You'll deal with that as it comes.
I mean, I get.
No, that character trait literally came out of the fact that the prop gun I have for that is just really satisfying to hold, so I want to hold it while I'm talking.
Jesus.
That's just a real world thing that turned into a character thing. But she is paranoid, so.
I think you've only done 1 point less damage to me than Jake has.
Well, I need to up my game apparently. Jesus.
Apparently, yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit, because we kind of talked about the cultural aspects earlier. Panacea on Discord asked, how long has Ink been in Ebon Falls? If she was born and raised there, how long has her family been there? And then I have a follow-up of my own.
Sure. Ink's been there her whole life. Ink is about, I think I decided, like 35, so she's like older than a lot of the people in the party, at least the younger members, like Isabella. And her family, she doesn't necessarily know. She lost her parents at a young age, just because during the moon crash situation when Ink was about 5, she lost them basically and was left to take care of her sister in the aftermath of all of that. So she doesn't know much about her family or her family history other than her vague remembrances of her parents. But yeah, she's been in the city her whole life, and it's basically all she knows. Like, as far as I'm concerned, the first time she ever really left the city at all was when we went to Host. So yeah, she's very, very insulated by the city walls and everything.
Okay, so we got to talk about the accent at some point.
Okay,
it is
if we have to.
It's just it's super infectious, and you know, Jake occasionally dips into miming it. I had a campaign where somebody was also doing that, and I was also trying to do like a Germanic accent. And as soon as Yuri would start speaking in the kind of Russian kind of thing, it just, everybody at the table just, I don't know what it is. It must be some sort of phenomenon in her head. Anyhow, the question I have, so you've kind of had it where when you do the accent, that is Ink speaking common. When you slip out of it, that is you speaking Tabaxi. So is the accent specific to Tabaxi culture? Like if we go to somewhere else, we run into Tabaxi, they're going to talk like that, or is that specifically like their dialect? Like,
I have an answer in my head, but I'd love to hear your answer.
Yeah,
because it doesn't really matter. It's not canon until we say it. So
yeah, that's definitely a Jake thing. But in my head, when I was coming up with sort of talking like this, it had less to do with like the Tabaxi culture and more the fact that after the moon crash, like civilizations were changed a lot, and groups of people either huddled into like cities like Ebon Falls, or like we saw at the Vaudeval, we saw why am I not thinking of the races?
Oh,
not just him, the whole group.
Okay, well, this is sort of something you haven't learned in game necessarily, but folks call them hobgoblins, but they're not goblins, they're hob, and they're sort of mixed in with the group of goblins a little bit. So the hob is what they're called.
So they came in like during the moon crash, right? They had been.
Well, they were the people that lived. Yeah, they were the people that lived all along that really ravaged area in the middle of the map, and a lot of these people are refugees now, and they have a very similar accent to that. A lot of those people live in the hang houses. That's what my assumption was too, was a mixing. So I'm glad we were on the same page. Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't really actually had this conversation, but we
feed off each other pretty well, and I think we get where we're coming from. No, it wasn't necessarily Tabaxi-centric as much as it was just sort of the poorer areas of the city where all these different immigrants had come in, and sort of there had been a mixing of the different cultures and dialects, and you kind of end up with this sort of thing. It is indicative of more class things than race things, as far as I am concerned, but I do not know. That is up to Jake.
I guess we'll find out eventually, theoretically. Yeah. Was there any other...
Olana also has the same... Sorry,
yeah.
But Olana has the same for that reason, because you grew up in the same area. Anyway.
Yeah. Was there any other cultural influences or anything that you kind of peppered in that maybe aren't as obvious as the accent, or just haven't come up yet?
Oh no, it basically comes out of the fact that this is a voice I can do at long lengths of time without it getting annoying to me. So this. It mostly comes out of how do I put this? Have you seen the movie Borat? You can sometimes see the movie Borat and my wife, and you do that, and it evolves into this. So fake Kazakhstani accent. That's maybe not the deepest or best answer, but it's the truthful one. So there you go.
Well, thank you. That certainly clears that up.
I like that you asked that, like, oh yes. Let me tell you about the Eastern European influences. No, it's Sacha Baron Cohen. It's Borat. It's a Borat voice.
Shifting gears. So, Randy, I kind of want to know what how you're approaching playing Soren, because he's very quiet. He seems kind of absent-minded from time to time, just kind of doing his own thing. But then occasionally, like, he'll just go in real hard on a decision, like taking the goo communion, or my favorite thing was when you guys were starting to notice things in Reverend Gillstown were weird, and you immediately just start making Molotov cocktails.
Mm. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of things that go into that. I think of Soren as being kind of a more reserved person in general, because he basically grew up as the weird kid in a very small village of people. He'd been hearing these voices and then seeing things almost his entire life. So he never really fit in tremendously with these people who were all like miners and physical laborers and things like that. So he's kind of slow to really open up and show himself to people because he just has never really been accepted for who he is. He's maybe seeing up in here for the first time with this group of misfits.
We accept you, though, Randy. We love you.
Oh, thank you, buddy. But his major fatal flaw, I think, in his character is that his curiosity will always get the best of him, and in his pursuit to figure out anything about what's going on with him, if he sees something weird or something unusual going on, he's going to take that chance. So taking weird goo communion was kind of a no-brainer for him. And then the Molotovs is just growing up in the military. He knows when shit's about to go down, you have to be prepared. So you might as well not fuck around if there could be something as deadly as Wendigo out there.
Do you or Soren have any plans to just to do anything about the memory enchantment? Because as of right now, you're kind of taking it in stride.
Yeah, I think Soren is not as quick to abandon his reservations about killing innocent people as Isabella maybe is. So he's choosing to kind of roll the dice on his own memory right now. But as things escalate, that could become more problematic and more difficult decision. And maybe he does have to make that decision at some point.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if it ends up having consequences down the line. Because so far, not really. Other than you don't have to eat.
Right.
But yeah, that'll be interesting. Can you talk about his time in the war? You shared a little bit with the group a couple sessions ago, but is there any anything that you've built out kind of in your head that you want to share? Des Viper on Discord specifically asked, is there any juicy political stuff around the war, like vying factions, or like who was Soren? Was there a political cause that Soren was really, charged up about?
Right. The war basically was, these vying archmages fighting for control of a power vacuum after the moon crash kind of disrupted the major economical structures in place. And Soren came from this small village that kind of held fealty to one of the archmages in Odium. And that was who he got basically conscripted to go to the front lines for, where he did as more of like a chronicler or an archivist, writing things down there. He doesn't really have any big political thoughts or aspirations. He doesn't have any goals he's trying to advance there. For him, this was kind of inspired by the idea of Jason Isbell's song "Cumberland Gap," which is about a mining town in Appalachia. But the idea is basically you got to find some way to get the hell out of that town, or it's just going to eat you alive. You'll work in the mines for the rest of your life until you're broken and you die, and you don't get to do anything with your life. So he kind of saw this as a way to get out of his hometown and have a chance to actually make something of himself besides being another miner.
Well, that is good information to have. So last time we talked about your guys' session 0, which we found out that that was where Isabella got introduced to the box that led you guys to Mistress. What did Ink and Soren encounter in session 0? And specifically, is there just anything that you're kind of sad that the audience wasn't able to see?
No, my session 0 was much more uneventful compared to theirs. Soren was also on that train with them, and was basically alternating between sleeping and playing cards with this group of older gentlemen that he found in his train car. That's what they're called.
Yeah, you were in the economy car, and the twins. You didn't travel together. The twins were in a much more bougie car.
Yeah.
Having paid the premium price, they got to choose, and they chose that. But Soren had been on the road doing a bunch of crazy stuff for a while. So it was less session 0, more like the talks about that was more interesting than the session 0 itself, because you and I had a lot more discussions about that kind of stuff than pretty much everybody else. But then your entrance into the city was a little bit different. So
yeah,
that happened in session 1.
Yeah, that did happen in session 1. A lot of the other stuff we talked about there's a good chunk of Soren's backstory that he hasn't revealed yet. They'll probably come up at some point. But that was where a lot of our discussions were focused, I think.
And you don't want to share any of that now?
I'll keep that secret for a little bit.
All right, fine.
My session 0 was entirely different from everyone else's. Mine was not like a role play session 0, because basically where Ink started out was just a normal day for Ink, so nothing eventful had happened. You know what I mean? It was basically Jake going over, here's how the city is, here are the important people in the city, like this is what you would know and this is what your daily life would be like, just so I would kind of know where I was starting out. But we didn't do like a full session as much as it was, here is all the lore that you would know.
And also that we taught, like, you came up with a lot of stuff too. Like, it was like I learned a lot during that. We had the most cultural talk that session 0, and we didn't actually like RP at all, did we?
No, we didn't. Which honestly, I've tried to pepper as much of that stuff in as I could naturally.
I think you've been doing
to keep it like the idea that of course Ink grew up in the city and knows stuff. So I've tried to kind of keep stuff organic as much as possible, as opposed to dropping character and being like, here's what I know about this, but more, just speaking in character. So I hope I've done okay at that. But yeah, the session 0 was basically lore and coming up with sort of a back and forth about, this is the things you'd know, this is how the city functions. Which was interesting in and of itself. I don't know how interesting it would have been for anyone to see, but it was fun. But I always like doing that kind of stuff with Jake, back and forth idea stuff. So
yeah, riffing and all that. Well, yeah, and it definitely comes off like Ink definitely feels a more lived in, well, like she's lived in Ebon Falls longer, and kind of a more lived in character. Did the Rat Gang feature in Session Zero at all?
We talked about the Rat Gang and how Ink had interactions with them in the past, and the fact that they don't run in similar circles as much as they run in circles that are on the same criminal level, if that makes sense. Competing for petty robbery and jobs and stuff, and how they had come into conflict. Not like we want to murder each other all the time thing, but we're
They're scraps.
rivals.
They're scraps.
Yeah, we fight over the scraps, but we also respect that, hey, we're in a similar shitty situation. I'm not gonna fuck with you any more than I have to get what I need.
So not quite like Sharks versus Jets.
I feel like there's there's a quiet, unspoken line that the Rat Gang and the other poor, like maybe unaffiliated criminals sort of walk. Because I feel like every time we interact, as like if I play one of the rats or something, I feel like we don't like each other, but there's like, but I know you're not a cop. Like, at least you're not like you're not pressing me, but.
It's a fuck you, but if we actually like go at it with each other hard enough, then they win and fuck them more, is the way I think about it.
There are enough situations.
It's a certain amount of solidarity. It's
right,
a little bit of class solidarity.
I could see a situation where y'all back to back and fought on the same side for a minute, but like
yeah. Like I actually felt bad when we killed their rat pet. Like,
good, I'm
sucks.
glad. It was on a round counter, and he was going to get there in a certain amount of time, having reacted to basically like 30 seconds of your fight. You guys smashed that poor rat. But that was going to be hard either way, so I didn't know what you guys were going to do. In fact, after the encounter, I thought, I don't know if I said it on stream at the end or just in the house after the stream, but I thought you guys were going to, I didn't know how you'd do it, but I thought, like, oh shit, rats are coming out of these grates. Maybe we should cover it up with like a poncho or like a. And I thought maybe someone would try to do that or something, but it was just like, nope, fucking blast, and it was fun. It was good.
So Randy, you heard the idea, plug it up with a poncho, and you rejected that outright. Absolutely not.
Right. Oh, that's my lucky poncho.
Is there a story behind that? The lucky poncho?
It's not actually lucky. It was a gift to him from somebody that he met in the as yet unexplored part of his backstory, who was a very important fatherly figure at a time in his life, and so he tried to because it was a gift from that person.
There was a question on the Discord about the poncho, but I don't see it now. But I think that covers it. I do appreciate that you brought one, or that you bring one into your character. Was that something you bought for the campaign?
Yeah.
Do you wear it out?
No, it stays in the studio.
I mean, it's a good all-purpose. Like, we're kind of getting into our post-apocalyptic phase. You gotta get your look going.
True. I just worry that if I take it down, I'll have it for D&D.
I mean,
I should buy more. As I'm coming up with here, I should get more.
Get like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah. Covered for every day.
There you go.
Randy becomes a poncho guy, IRL. I like that. That's a vibe.
You can get those little cheroot cigars that look like beef jerky.
I was imagining growing a bunch of succulents, so yeah, I think we're on the same sort of like cactuses and shit. I feel like you'd have cactuses and ponchos around.
I should do that, yeah.
Cool. Well, now that we have a new direction for your life, what caused Soren seems to, I mean, we kind of know a little bit about this because of his background, but Panacea from Discord wanted to know where his fascination with the occult and supernatural stems from.
Yeah, I think largely it comes from the assumption whatever's in his head as some sort of magical entity. And so he has just always kind of pursued these magical studies to every extent that he's able. And that's kind of fueled his fascination with those as well. And I think kind of the supernatural goes hand in hand with that, with kind of these supernatural entities and creatures that he's fought against and encountered before. And so they all kind of intertwine together from not knowing what's happening to him and trying to find at least a first answer here.
I mean, that tracks. And I mean, you yourself are something of a supernatural occult. I don't know how deep it goes if you're an enthusiast, but you're at least a chupacabra enthusiast.
I am a chupacabra enthusiast. I have always thought cryptids were just the fun things to learn about, listen to stories and encounters from people. They're just modern American folklore, basically. So yeah, I've always kind of been interested in those from a young age.
Yeah,
So
me too. I used to have a map on my wall that had like the most famous cryptid from every state or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Which was, I mean, because you got Bigfoot, you got the Jersey Devil and all that, and then you have like Ogopogo and stuff.
Yeah.
The also rans. So is Chupacabra your favorite cryptid?
Mothman.
It's a top three: Chupacabra, Mothman, and Wendigo. They go up and down.
That's your super group.
Yeah, that's my Justice League.
Hannah, you're a Mothman, like one and only?
I don't know. Okay, so I do conspiracy theory stuff where I like debunk conspiracy theories, and cryptids fall into that. Mothman is just funny to me in the way he looks or is supposed to look. I think Mothman's hilarious, but I don't know.
What's this? I don't even know. I only know the Richard Gere movies. Oh, I don't know. What's the myth?
He's like a big moth guy.
So,
he's
not to
just
get
a
too
moth
far
guy?
into the weeds.
He doesn't do anything.
He's supposedly a harbinger of doom. He appeared in Point Pleasant, West Virginia in the 50s, I believe, and was seen by a bunch of teenagers at night. And then like a week later, this bridge collapsed and killed a ton of people.
That's crazy.
So everyone was like, oh shit, the Mothman was trying to warn us.
Okay.
There is also like another cryptid supernatural creature that like is tied into that legend. Like a bunch of stuff started happening at the same time. It's like some alien guy.
Oh, we don't have enough time for Injured Cold.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
We don't got time for Injured Cold.
I did want to mention specifically, Hannah, I saw on stream the other day, someone mentioned the Department of Truth comic book series to you.
Yeah, I've heard about it. It's like an Image comic, I think.
It's Image, super duper retweet. Like it is up your alley. It is up Randy's alley. I love it. It is amazing. It's like the Men in Black for cryptids and supernatural things, but like it's like the way it works in the context of the world is that like the more people believe in something, the more real it becomes. So
yeah.
they're kind of like going after conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And it's really cool. They change artists like when they do different time periods and stuff. Yeah, like so. Shout
James
out,
Tinian.
Free plug, yeah, for James Tinian the Fourth.
I'll have to pick it up. That sounds cool.
But anyhow, so we got off topic.
So, all right.
So not Mothman. Mothman is a joke. Hannah, do you have a favorite cryptid? That's what we really want to know.
I forget the name, but you know the one that Randy, you might know what I'm talking about. The one where it's just looks like a pair of legs that are
the
walking.
Fresno Nightcrawler.
Yes, the Nightcrawlers. I love the Nightcrawlers.
They're cute. They're cute little boys.
They creep me out. They're the worst. I love them.
No, they just want to hug.
Producer question. Because this ties in, and maybe you guys could just discuss it. Less of a question, more of a prompt. Inc. also has interest in well, not necessarily a cryptid, but a very specific monster of lore, and that is, of course, the werewolf. So,
Yeah.
please discuss.
I don't have a ton to say about it. Just basically, when Ink and her sister were growing up, Olana, who's older than her by a little bit, not a ton, but enough that amongst sort of the street kids, she kind of helped raise them as much as they helped raise each other. And she would tell Ink and Sky scary stories about werewolves. So Ink is terrified of werewolves, and she's very paranoid that she's going to run into one someday. Part of it is a little bit of a cat dog joke, but like I just think that's a fun character trait that she has this specific thing that she heard about as a kid that freaks her out. I don't know if we'll ever run into a werewolf, but if we do, that'll be good. That'll be good.
So she's scared of werewolves, but she doesn't carry silver bullets.
Do you know how expensive silver bullets are? She'll get some silver bullets probably now that we have money. I know you bought some a little while ago and you missed every shot with them.
This isn't about me. I'm not on
I think it's a
trial.
little bit about you.
Oh my god. Well, speaking of Sky, is there anything more that you want to share about Ink's sister? Is there anything that you've kind of built up that you kind of draw from that you're obviously willing to share?
It's mostly just, I know there was a question in the Discord too. I don't know if I was supposed to look at those. I looked at them though. There was a question in the Discord that was like, what was the relationship like between Ink and her sister? Like, how did she feel about her sister? Were they similar? Something along those lines. And in my head, the way it was basically they were similar, and Ink didn't like that because Ink of course had to struggle, just as much as Sky did, but Ink was a little older, so kind of took a lead in, stealing and making sure they had food when they could get it and stuff like that. And I don't think she ever wanted Sky to put herself in that kind of danger, at least as much as possible. So especially as they both got older, and Sky got into this same similar life of like stealing and getting into petty crime stuff to survive, I don't think she liked that, which clearly led to some sort of secretive stuff, considering what we've found out so far about Sky and her gun being part of something that we aren't really privy to, and her going and delving without the knowledge of Ink. So I'm excited to learn more about that, just to see what she was up to. But yeah, they were very close. They were each other's only family, and Ink was very protective and feels devastated that she wasn't able to protect her, which I think drove her down a really bad place for a couple of years, which I think is the time period in which like the public urination story took place, where she was like drinking a lot and not being very productive. But she's kind of been able to pull herself out of that for the most part and try and get back to work and figuring out what she can about her sister's death.
Sure. Well, thank you. Just need my desk there. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's good to know. I know it's always, you kind of want to keep some of that close to your chest because you never know when it's going to come up later. Well, let's talk about the twins a little bit, because you guys have very different backgrounds from the rich kids. So I'm just kind of curious. I mean, I think we get a lot of this through the play, but your guys' initial impression, or rather your character's initial impressions of them, and kind of how things are, where you guys are sitting now after you've kind of been through some shit with them. Then yeah, how you guys are kind of settling into your new dynamic.
Did you want to go first, Randy? I just talked, so.
Sure. Yeah. I think Soren kind of, he realizes the way that their upbringing and their class has kind of influenced the way that they see the world and sometimes interact with people. But he doesn't take it like, he doesn't seem to take it on as much of a personal level as Ink does sometimes, I think, when they get into spats of wealth. And he sees that they're both seemingly well-intentioned, although very poorly socialized, and could probably use a lot of coaching in that department. And he sees good allies and potentially good people in them, and he doesn't mind associating with them and trying to take advantage of the different connections and opportunities that they bring to help him kind of achieve his goals.
And I mean, on a certain level, he probably feels like he was kind of drawn to the group because the noise in his head, kind of led him there. So I could see that.
He definitely, for now, especially after those couple of mornings with Isabella, sees that they could really potentially give him his first few steps towards figuring out what he needs to figure out. Just something seems to be reacting between them. I mean, whenever his head explodes, it seems to disproportionately go after her. So,
yeah, I hadn't really made that connection, but yeah, interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's intentional or just because, the second time she was kind of probing in his head, and he doesn't know that in character. She never mentioned that to him. Just that she heard that word, and then things went.
I mean, she had a new ability. What else was she going to do?
Yeah, I get it.
Not try it out, not go into your head.
Right. Yeah, so I think he sees, maybe this is something that he can use to his advantage here.
When Ink first met them, definitely saw them as just marks, just dumb rich people coming into town that she could take advantage of. But I think there are a couple turning points that stick out to me, and that's when Isabella first melded with Mistress, and that whole situation, which horrified Ink, but at the same time, on some level, she was definitely thinking, this is different and interesting, and this is more than just robbing a couple of people. And the second one is definitely when we were on our way to Host, and Isaac helped heal the leg of, I'm forgetting the guy's name, the kid who was attacked by the antler deer.
Summerbangs.
Yeah, was it Art? Was his name Art? Something like that.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's short for something, but you guys don't know.
Sure. But yeah, I think that gave perspective, because certainly Isaac and Isabella grew up in a completely different world, and they do not have the perspective to understand what it's like to have to actually fend for yourself. But at minimum, there is that want there to help people. There is that want to be of service to people in need. And I think that went a long way to make Ink trust them more. And since then, I think Ink has grown to like working with them and trust them. I think she also probably worries about Isabella a little, just because Ink lost her sister at a young age, and she looks at Isaac and Isabella and how Isabella's kind of not in tune with like how other people are and how the world is, and is just kind of concerned about her a little. I don't know. She's also horrifying because she wants to eat people, but you know what I mean. It's a weird mix of feelings. Like, oh, she's a young woman who's just trying to survive in this world and also murder people for their meat. So, I don't know. But either way, I think it definitely comes down to Ink has grown to really like the people she's working with, surprisingly quickly. She doesn't normally trust people, but like, we work together well, even if they are spoiled rich kids.
Sure. I mean, and it's probably going to be like a fast transition, moving from the hang houses in the poorer part of town to I guess the warehouse isn't in like the best part of town, but your own space.
Sure, it's more space. It's not
Sounds
hanging
like
over an infinite chasm of death. Yeah, it's nice.
So I'm guessing like if hang houses were a thing in the real world, you would not.
I'm afraid of heights, so no, I would not.
The constant swaying wouldn't sell you anymore on that.
No, I would throw up. I would be throwing up constantly.
Is Ink jaded about heights? Like, does it even?
Oh yeah, I don't think she cares, especially because like she has a climbing speed. There was the time she like fell during the pee incident and like broke a leg, but like other than that, no, I don't think she's that worried about it. She's fine.
Yeah, I'm imagining her. Well, the hang houses to me were inspired by not only finding a cool like sort of map I wanted to adapt from, but those pictures of old timey New York where people are hanging off the fucking buildings and shit. And when you were describing sort of the different things about Ink, and then she had a climbing speed, and it was just too good not to sort of be like, hey, what do you think about being on this over the crack thing? And you're like, yeah. It was cool.
I think it's a cool visual too. I like to imagine her sitting there at night and seeing the city, and I think it's nice.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about the campaign. Is just that very, I don't know, unique image. Really kind of set the tone for me, at least for the first setting and just kind of the world.
I'm glad. Okay, I was actually like low key like, are they gonna get it? Like how fucking weird this would look, and like a little, what do they call, like favela sort of like hanging over that. I don't know, because in my head it looks different, but it's really hard to describe that sort of thing without like talking too much about it. So I hope everyone's mental image is really cool. That's really what I want to get out of it. It's a neat slum.
I mean, that's kind of part of the appeal of D&D is everyone kind of brings, you introduce the idea and let everyone kind of interact with it. All right. Well, we know how you guys feel about the twins. What about Mistress? Randy, you gotta meet Mistress kind of early. Has that colored your interactions with her?
A little bit early on, especially. I think he's kind of gotten more comfortable with her now that there's been like a dialogue and kind of knows that Ink is first on the list when Mistress starts eating us. So he's got a little bit of a head start if he needs to. But yeah, he definitely early on was very trepidatious about Mistress, and still he's getting more comfortable, but there are definitely moments where he perks up again and gets a little worried.
Well, Hannah, how about Ink?
Oh God. Ink is very uncomfortable by Mistress. It's a situation where like Ink doesn't really like Mistress, but it's kind of like a package deal. Like Isabel's fine, if not a bit amoral, but like there's a horrifying goo monster living inside of her. I don't know if you've noticed, but Ink has gone out of her way several times to get food for Mistress. This is pragmatic in nature, okay? It's nice, but it's also pragmatic. If Mistress is full of meat logs, less likely she's gonna eat random people and or Ink. No, Ink, it's an uneasy partnership, right? Out of all the people in the party, Mistress is someone that Ink is not happy to work with, but knows that she must. Therefore, she will, and keep it as cordial as possible when dealing with Goo Monster.
I mean, you've done a good job of feeding the beast so far. So Mistress just kind of has like this kind of benign, malevolent presence so far. I'm interested to see what when and if Mistress just kind of goes loose or causes some havoc. Because that'll be really fun to watch.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, for sure.
it's not even like just a murder thing. I don't think ink is inherently against all like murder, you know? Crime happens and, you know, bad people die sometimes. But like I think it's more just the concept of killing someone specifically to consume them. It's just fucked. It's
the indignity of
hands are
becoming
out.
poop. Yeah.
I love it.
Hashtag not all murder. So speaking of meat logs, Krista Willow wanted to know more about the meat logs. What kind of meat are they? And are there choices of different flavors? If so, does Ink have a favorite?
In my head, I guess I just assumed it was sort of like a bump above like the meat that goes into Slim Jims. Does that make sense? Like it's not quite the organ meats, maybe a little bit of organ meats, but you know, it's not the good stuff.
It's like a caseless sausage. So
okay.
it's like a.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it is that, and it's like heavily spiced to get like the, you know what, poor cut meats flavor out and impart some sort of like savoriness to it where it would otherwise be less satisfying.
Sure.
Kind of like the science behind Doritos.
And in my head, even though we're making better money now and Ink could theoretically afford better food, it's kind of like how sometimes, Jake, you
Taco
sometimes
Bell.
buy Lunchables or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's nostalgic. It's a thing you've eaten for a really long time from when you were younger because it was cheap and easy, and you're going to continue to eat it, damn it. And if not all the time, at least once in a while.
And this is inspired a little bit by, I mean, both like the idea of like New York sort of bodega life, and you kind of find like your favorite stands or whatever. But we live a place with a lot of Greek food, and I really like that stuff, but it is not all of the same quality. So I like the idea that though he comes from the culture, he's not terribly good at making the food, but he runs a successful deli nonetheless because, you know, it is what it is, cheap and it's available. And I like the idea of you encountering someday like some like grandma that makes the perfect meat log recipe, and you just are like mind blown.
Also, in the Ink accent, it is fun to say meat log. I like the meat log. I do not know why that is fun. Meat log.
I'm being 100% honest. It got that name because I was trying to figure out what you would call it, and then I said it out loud like in your voice. So, yeah, it is that reason.
Meat log.
Meat log.
Who does not want a meat log?
Everyone would.
In the 3 years when we are done with this campaign, I will make everyone meat log for the finale. We will get the meat log. Deal. It will be good.
We'll make all the foods that are famous from this campaign.
Well, you know, you kind of brought up the food from your youth kind of thing. So what would be your guys's your meat log? Like what's your go-to? Just like, man, I just need to eat. I just need to be a goblin person.
Can I guess each of theirs and see if I'm right?
You want to write it? You want to do the dating?
I want to guess. Okay, so write it down. Yeah, for Randy, I think a nice bag of squeaky Wisconsin cheese curds and like a Coke. And then for Hannah, I think, oh boy, it's either like a melt, because she do be loving melts, or like a ham and cheese sandwich, because big ham and cheeser. Those are my two, like, I think if you guys were just, what's your base, like, comfort junkie thing? I think that's what I see both of you do most. And then probably with a Coke Zero for Hannah.
If it's something that's from like a restaurant, you know,
mac and cheese,
Mamma Mia's Pizza.
No.
Probably their cheesy bread, which is like a local thing. No one else will know what we're talking about, but Jake and I grew up in the same area. But if it's like a thing you buy at the store, probably those Velveeta shells and cheese.
Oh, I was thinking something you make yourself, I guess, but...
Oh, I don't make food myself. What are you talking about?
Cheesies.
Yeah, definitely I could go for mac and cheese curds. Specifically from Carr Valley, Carr in South Central Wisconsin. That or a thin crust pizza from Pizza Hut, which it was the only chain we had in the city I grew up in. But yeah, that takes me back to.
Does Pizza Hut do a thin crust? I mean, obviously they do. I don't.
It's pretty good. I like it. Yeah.
Is that a recent thing they started on? I know they kind of like changed up their game. Like
No, they've had thin crust at least since the 90s.
We don't have Pizza Hut in town where I live anymore. They closed.
Yeah, so I had a craving a couple weeks ago. There's no Pizza Hut.
I live down the street from one. You're not missing anything.
You said that.
I like the Pizza
Good.
Hut, like where you went to eat inside. I have fond memories.
Yeah,
They're just not
those like
open
red
around my area.
tumblers.
Remember those cups? The Pizza
Yeah.
Hut
The
cup?
red tumblers. Yeah.
I feel like
The stained glass overhead lights.
Mhm.
and the like deep dish personal. Remember when you got a personal pizza, dude, when you were a kid? Oh, what a big moment.
From Book It.
They
Yeah.
used to have
None of this shit
I can't
happens.
believe you guys didn't do Book It.
Pizza Hut like reading rewards and stuff. I got one of those. I got an X-Men, the cartoon, like a VHS for reading a bunch of stuff, for reading a bunch of books, and I turned it in.
Wait,
It was my
was it the one with
peak.
the morph like that? The first like 2 or 3 episodes. Oh yeah, I think I got the same
Yep.
tape, dude.
Hell yeah, probably worth gangbusters now, and I don't have it anymore.
Damn.
But also, I think it had enough pizza grease on the thing that it probably would have disintegrated by now. Anyhow, we could probably talk about pizza all evening, and I'd be very happy to do so. maybe later. Yes. Let's see. Just kind of going through a couple of these here. So, we've kind of run into a bunch of different NPCs, all played by Jake. Any of those that you had particularly strong feelings about, either that you really liked or you really hated, that you maybe wished you could have fed to Mistress, anything like that?
I'm gonna just say the one that stuck out to me the most so far, which is probably intentional, is the Reverend, just as an interesting character. Again, we don't know a lot about what's going on there. Specifically, it's kind of a mystery. I don't know how prominent he's going to be moving forward. But certainly, at least for this chapter, he certainly seems like a central figure. And I just want to, I know Jake's in the chat. I'm not trying to like lay on a lot of, but like you do a really good job at that. You do such a good job at like the enthralling kind of like Southern pastor, like
I'm glad.
I don't know.
I'm glad you did.
You could start a cult, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
So you like the voice? I love that voice. It's a fun voice.
I think you do a good job. It drips just like
I know.
evil, like, but like it's not like you're coming off like but like you can tell there's stuff
evil
underneath the niceness.
Well, also, religion is not always the most popular opinion in our group, and I like that any villain that is like vindicated in their correctness about their cause is so scary, especially if they. Because you see, like, not to say that anything he's doing is necessarily evil, but he's obviously creepy to you guys. I like the idea that in his view, what he does is pretty, and the language he uses to describe these things is, from his, not the way that you would describe them. And I really like sort of drip feeding like that, because he's a fun character, and I didn't know how you guys would interact as you sort of uncovered more stuff. I thought you guys were going to be a little bit more Snoopy than you were, actually. But
I think these characters have been more cautious than Campaign 1 characters. Yeah. We're a little
very
more
mortal,
reserved, and trying to realize.
It's fun.
In terms of fun NPCs, that I like Sea Dog. Sea Dog is fun.
Yep. Sea Dog has been real good to us.
Yeah.
Rossi stands out as somebody who could potentially inflict a lot of pain. So that puts him on the radar. And then the Reverend is super fascinating, and he turns into a goo monster. Isabella's filled with a goo monster. Maybe we'll get some information if we go down that road a little more. But I don't know that we are in a position to fuck with him at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know that I would be rushing back there if it were me. Um, I mean, he shook Ink's hand and kind of right. Was it Ink or was it Soren?
It was
Yeah, it
Ink.
was Ink. Yeah, and just kind of had that little ominous interaction, and then what? You guys are back for 18 hours, and you get a threatening note.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was more like 3 or 4 days.
Was
That's
it?
still pretty quick postal
Yeah.
service. That's good. That's good
Yeah.
service, all things considered.
Well, because it took them a day to get down, and then they rested, and then they moved in the whole day, and then they did Vodavol, and so on like the, I guess, 4.5 days until a letter actually got to them. So
We still don't know what Rossi did with the woman we kidnapped.
Nope. Not
I
gonna
hope
think
he
about it.
returned her.
He just said he'd take care of it, right?
Yeah, that's...
yeah, Rossi's got this shit.
Yeah, what does that mean? What did he do with her?
He
Is
seems like
dead?
he's got a heart of gold.
Did he have his gloves on when he said that?
He was at his table in the morning. It was like 4 a.m., so I don't think he did.
He didn't have his gloves on. He had them on when you were talking to him in was it Benny? No.
I think it was Benny.
He was beating that guy up. Yeah.
Frankie?
Frankie. It was Frankie. Yeah.
Frankie.
Hmm.
Frankie.
Frankie does sound like someone who needs to be taught a lesson. I do appreciate as characters that you guys were all asking questions about the post office, because I mean, just as somebody, just as an audience member, like I just had a whole bunch of questions about how does it work in this world and blah blah blah, and it's just a bunch of minutia that probably would not have made for good conversation here. But I don't know. I just appreciate that you all.
If you want to ask post office questions, you can.
It could come up in the future, though. You never know. Like, what if we need a letter delivered and we need to know the functioning of the post office, or what if we needed to like pretend
Need to send a mail bomb.
carriers and we needed that information? You know?
Yeah.
I did not introduce a mail system because they have no lore. There's stuff going on, yeah. So you feel free to inquire about.
Maybe we
post
should get a
office.
job at the post office and learn about the
Let's just get normal jobs. Let's just do
We
that as a
could.
campaign. We don't have to do this. We don't have to risk our lives.
The post office is a viable option. You guys
Just
can
do
pursue if you'd like.
capitalism, the tabletop game.
Are they? Is the post office union in this universe?
Union. Sure, yeah. I guess they all make money together. It's not a lot of trickle up. Sure. It's. I wouldn't say it's organized like ideologically like a union for monetary purposes. It's more of a duty thing.
Do the stamps still use the delicious glue? Or are they just adhesive?
I'm gonna have to lick one of them stamps.
I have so many questions about what you just said.
You never lick a stamp?
I've licked stamps. You think they taste good?
I mean, the fact that you clarified it with the delicious glue, like
Yeah.
there's clearly some affection for the glue.
Yeah, there's tiers of glue that you can eat. I don't know if
Brady,
you guys know this.
do you buy old stamps off of eBay just to lick them?
No, I don't.
Not yet, you don't.
Because didn't realize that was really an option. Until
Exactly.
the second. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are there commemorative stamps? Is there like a tacky Moonfall commemorative,
I'd like to think so. Yeah.
like a 30th anniversary?
Are there like stamps with the keepers on them?
If I was an artist, I would love to make commemorative stamps, but I am not one. So, if anyone out there wants to donate several commemorative stamp designs to the universe, you feel free. And just see what you have. But like, yeah, I don't. I'm assuming they have some sort of stamp system to get people to buy stamps. I'd like to think that it's just fun. A character that collected stamps, if I could provide the actual handout, would be a very fun thing. But
I mean, maybe later. A big. I can't remember the name for somebody that collects stamps off the top of my head, but you'll make a class for that.
I thought it was just called stamp collecting. There's a name?
Yeah. Well, like the something ist.
Oh.
Somebody look it up. Somebody look it up and put it in chat.
Philately? Philatelist?
Philatelist. I think that's it.
Philately.
I'm learning.
That sounds like a crime.
The
is what that
study
sounds
of stamps and postal materials. Oh, look at that.
Riveting
Learn
stuff.
something.
Riveting.
This will be
What do
good
you
for
think, boys?
when one of us becomes the Unabomber.
None of us are going to become a Unabomber.
Sure.
Well, that was fun. Just getting into some light crime talk.
Yeah.
So, I normally kind of keep track of like take notes on encounters and stuff like that. And you guys have had a couple not great rolls, but I don't think you've really beefed it too hard. Do you guys do you attribute that to anything in particular? Do you have a lucky die or a cursed dice set that you've relegated into the?
I think there's some sort of like low-level dark magic going on, because I had a pair of dice that did so good during like the tail end of campaign 1. They're the dice,
That's the
which are
problem.
great dice, by the way, from Long Dog Dice. They made dice that were representative of our campaign 1 characters. And I also had this other set that are like amethyst stone dice, and they both rolled so high for me so consistently when we were high level in campaign 1. And it's like they know now that we're down to like level 2, they're rolling.
No.
I'm getting so many nat ones.
Here's what it
It's
is.
nuts.
Here's what it is. Those are
Okay.
professor dice, not ink
Yep.
dice. That's the problem.
Yep.
That's the juju. Yeah, you got to retire them. They're out of the game. You got to hang those
I
in
don't
the
want to
rafters.
retire them. I like those dice. I like them. They're good dice.
I mean, they can't. They at least cannot be the primary ink dice. That they know it's a feedback. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you can be blessed by the professor, but it's I just don't think it's the way to be. I think
Mostly it's just spite.
yeah, I think you got to
Well,
be a
then
dice
I'll
magpie
find-
like the rest of us.
Yeah.
I'll find some more thematically appropriate dice.
Maybe burn some sage at least, see if you can reset them.
They do. Make
If I can find
bullet
my
D6s.
containers, I'll bring them over. You can pick
Sounds good.
so many dice. My rolls are okay. My to hit bonus just went from plus 15 to plus 2, which is not as good. So I don't hit a whole lot with the gun. I'm an author.
I mean, William S. Burroughs was not famed for his accuracy.
That feels like it's dark, but I don't know William S. Burroughs lore.
Well, that'll be a fun one for you to look up later
All
on.
right.
But so do you have any cursed dice? How do you what attracts you? What do you look for in a die?
The current dice that I use for Soren are I forget the company. They're called Elder Dice, and they have the same symbol on their max value as on his medallion. So they're just intrinsically linked to the character.
Nice.
I prefer heftiness in dice and the sharpness of the corners. Those
Oh,
are
yeah.
two things I like.
Oh yeah.
Hefty, sharp.
Those are
Those two
satisfying.
qualities, both if possible.
So are you like metal or nothing?
I prefer
gemstone.
either metal or gemstone. I prefer gemstone over metal. Or if it is something that's like epoxy, like Long Dog, the one that I have from them is epoxy, but they come out super clean. Like this isn't sponsored. Long Dog like genuinely has like really really good molding.
Real
They come
good
out
edges.
super clean and sharp. So I like that, even though it's epoxy. But like, yeah, I like the gemstone dice. He's
Oh,
gone.
Oh
shit.
oh. Let's all go to the screen. we'll go here for now. Oh, maybe back.
Oh.
Maybe back. But I have these beautiful. I use these for the Sunday game. These are beautiful, like cat's eye, I think is what they're called, blue ones, and they're from whatever company does these, I forget, but they're amazing. Strong recommend. Also not a plug necessarily or a sponsor.
Randy, I have to find the dice I got you as a gift. I still have dice from like the last campaign ending that I didn't give you. I have one that's like gunmetal for Icilius, and then I have one for Egnir that's the coolest fucking dice ever. It literally has an actual mushroom inside it, like encased in epoxy, and I don't know where I put it. I have to find it.
Well,
anyway,
it'll show up eventually.
I guess.
Haven't really noticed. Do you guys either of you use dice towers or anything like that? It's kind of hard to see on the table.
I just like to roll them into a tray. Dice towers are cool, but I just don't. It seems like an extra thing that I don't need. If I saw one that was really cool, I'm not saying I would never get one, but I just prefer to hand roll.
I find it much more satisfying to do a bank shot off one of the walls of your dice tray.
Same.
So that's my preferred way of rolling.
Baby needs a new pair of shoes kind of thing.
Yeah.
I like dice towers, but they are essentially a toy that I just play with when I'm not playing D&D.
Right.
There's also a little bit of suspense in like tossing. It's sort of like a craps table. There's sort of like that little cha-cha thing that happens, and then when you roll natural 20, I think it feels way better when you roll it than when it comes out of dice tower. So.
It feels like, even though it's still random chance, it feels like you're more in control. Like I'm doing it.
Yeah, you don't really have that sense of like, come on, baby. You know, there's like the energy extended as you throw it, as where you're kind of dumping it into a machine. It's just not as pure.
Yeah. It's a purist game here. It's bowling with no bumpers.
Oh, right. Any plans to get are you promising yourself a new set when you reach a certain level or anything like that?
Now, after we have this discussion, I want to see if I can find some. Let me see. Some sort of thematic dice set, maybe once we hit level 3 and get kind of into our subclass stuff. Like, if I could find something that kind of matches Ink's leather jacket, I think that would be cool. Maybe something wooden that would kind of fit the city theme. I don't know. Like distressed wood, like oak barrel type thing. You know what I'm talking about?
You got me a really nice set of whiskey dice.
Yeah, they rolled like shit, though, apparently.
Well,
I think you said, which is unfortunate.
There's two things about them. They did a really cool thing where all the like max values are like the darkest part of the wood, which is cool. A little hard to read, but you could paint those if you wanted to. But they're really light because they're made of wood. So they're more something that I hold and smell and play with. They're more like a fidget spinner to me than because it feels like especially the D20. It really likes one of the sides because it's made of wood and it's porous. But if you can find a really thick, heavy wood, it'd probably be good. Or this is probably expensive, but I know that there's been some petrified wood, like old timey, like pressed and fossilized wood, made into dice, and those are really fucking cool and heavier, obviously, because of the pressure. But those are really nice.
Yeah. Now I'm just looking and I found some leather dice that are kind of cool.
Ooh.
That would fit.
That'd be interesting. I wonder how they'd even roll.
I think they like shaped them and then they put resin over them, it looks like, maybe.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting. Anyway.
Just do a screen share and let's all just shop for dice.
Yeah.
It's not my fault I have ADHD.
Hey, you're in good company. So, moving away from dice talk. How do your characters feel? So, you find out that the twins have this intimate history with one of the most famous and richest people in the region, if not the entire world, Atticus Kane. How is that kind of influencing? Obviously, he's ostensibly dead now, but that's got to be kind of a weird thing that these two rich kids,
Sometimes people just die.
rich powerful dude. It's true.
To Ink, it just feels like rich people problems.
Mhm.
Like, oh, one of the wealthiest people in the world stole your idea. Aw, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. Like, it's not a problem, but it's like, yeah, he's an asshole. Surprise. You still were born rich and you'd had plenty of opportunity and money. Not to say, again, Ink likes the twins at this point. She really does. And she'll absolutely help them with whatever thing. But I never considered that she would be too invested in their revenge against rich guy, other than maybe having the opportunity to beat up a rich guy, which would be fun.
Fair enough. So last time, this is probably something I'll have to ask Sarah and Alex as well. But Des Viper asked if you guys were worried about spies. And we didn't know quite what that meant. They clarified that they were asking specifically about Atticus Kane's like henchman, since he had already stolen stuff from Isaac once. If you guys were worried about him maybe using his resources to, mess with you, infiltrate, just kind of gum up the works. Again, he's apparently dead now, so probably not a huge concern at this point, but.
Yeah, I think at the moment, Soren is just taking it on face value that he's dead. No reason to believe otherwise, although how he ended up that way is a mystery. And I'm not too worried about him really trying to do anything to us at the moment.
Yeah, I think Ink's basically on the same page. She assumes he got what he wanted before he died. He has no reason to fuck with them further unless they continue to try and screw with his company. And who knows what's going to happen at this point now that he's dead. I use air quotes because it's D&D.
So what how do you guys, I mean, Ink, you probably kind of have a different, or Ink probably has a different perspective on this than Soren, but getting involved with Rossi and the Gold Boys, who was kind of like a high level organized crime rather than petty thievery. So you probably have more of like a sense of like the stakes and the consequences.
Yeah, Ink, it's Ink, and I don't know how this comes off, because Ink generally still refers to him as like Mr. Rossi, even when he's not around, and doesn't just call him like Dante, and tries to go along to get along, if you know what I mean. She recognizes that Rossi isn't a good guy, and he certainly does a lot of messed up things, but I think she also, pragmatically speaking, just understands this is kind of how it works. If I want opportunity to move up in this world, the only way I know how, this is the kind of person you have to work with. So she doesn't like him, doesn't necessarily like his business, but it's either that or what? Be poor? Work with the Silvers? No, not doing that. I don't think she sees him as bad, but not as bad as people like the corrupt Silvers, if that makes sense. At least he's honest about the kind of person he is, if that makes sense.
I mean, like kind of morally, he kind of seems pragmatic and very similar to Ink in that respect. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
That being said, if it ever became disadvantageous for us to work with him, or we were in a position where we had the upper hand and he was doing something really messed up that would not be good for us, Ink would have no problem like telling him to fuck off, or obviously we are very low level, we have no business doing anything against him, but I'm just saying she would have no issue with that hypothetically. Right now it just makes the most sense to take jobs where you can get them, and he's helpful to us currently, and we can kind of mutually benefit from each other.
Yeah, I think Soren is largely in the same spot. He doesn't have any illusions about what Mr. Rossi's overall operation is and what he's doing, but he has resources and he has connections that can be advantageous. And so far, he hasn't asked them to do anything fucked up, like torturing people or killing anyone. So for now, he's fine to let this be a mutually beneficial relationship and not get too involved with them formally part of the family or anything. So we'll just keep helping each other a little bit here and there until it starts to become morally questionable or whatever, and then I guess we'd cross that bridge.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. So as we mentioned, you guys are kind of in the middle of delving for the first time. We ended last time, presumably partway through. What are you expecting out of this next session? Because it's gone pretty well so far, but you are in an establishment that has a death pool on you guys.
Deadpool.
So
I'm the first section was suspiciously calm. There were certainly tense moments because we didn't necessarily know what was going on, but so far we already got halfway to our minimum goal for moon chips. I think things are gonna go off in the next session. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I imagine it'll be a challenge, whatever it happens to be. And I'm most excited to find out more about the Gloom Broker, whose name we're not even supposed to say lest he appear. Very, very interested in that, and potentially being able to ask questions about the magical item that Sky had in her possession upon her death. But I don't know. I imagine whatever happens, we will be in a lot of danger.
Yeah, I think I know Soren is kind of expecting there to be legitimate trouble at some point during this delve. They haven't really faced any so far, fortunately. So I'm sure that'll come to pass at some point. There's still 3 moon chips to go. But right now he's sort of just getting his bearings, kind of learning more about the environment down here, expecting that the things relevant to his interests are going to be a little deeper in, and he'll probably have to work to get there.
Do we? This is just a question for Jake, I guess. Like, we're on level 1. Is it known how many official floors down it goes in terms of like how it's been like mined out and stuff? How far does it go?
Would you know that? It goes. I guess you don't know how many official levels there are, but there's a bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't.
People
just go
have
on
explored
forever.
People have explored to the bottom.
Like,
okay.
so there's so you wouldn't know how many like levels there technically are for a delve.
Yeah.
But it basically split in half. There's the sewers that are sort of part of that. So you're kind of equal deep to some sewers things right now, and you're not going like west across the gap. Right now, you're going like east underneath like part of the chips,
right,
and then down a little bit, and sort of into like where it stops being the sewers and starts being Underdark. And then the other side of it, to cross, you have to get to the bottom and move across what is essentially like Underdark no man's land. But it's also it's deep enough, and there's enough like haze sort of to it, that like light doesn't really get down there during the day. Like you've been over top of it, and you can't just like look down in there, because it's plenty deep in the even when the sun's at its zenith. So there's certain like times that it makes more sense to cross, but it's a very dangerous sort of thing, and so you got to get to one of the bottom 2 levels basically to have access to that. Which, obviously for both a meta reason of like this sort of balance, I guess the idea of balance, but also like just pragmatically, like in universe, it's just harder the deeper you go to keep it cleaned out, I suppose. So you're in one of the more walked around areas, I suppose. And the apex predators can't like make it all the way up, at least not all of them, unless there's, I guess you'll notice a difference as you go down. Let's just say that.
I'm interested to see the level of intensity as we get further in the game and presumably go further down. And
Yeah.
The Gloom Broker's pronouns, any, all, really. I'd say probably not usually feminine pronouns, but I don't think anyone like would care. Like it's not. I think most people go he, they, or it, just because of the well, you haven't seen the Gloom Broker yet, but you'll get it.
Interesting.
You've only heard people use he, they in it so far, so.
So Ink's immediate goal is to get to the kind of the Undercity, and obviously find out some more information about her sister.
Yeah.
Randy, what are Soren's like now that you've kind of gotten back, you've completed your first mission, and you're delving. What's next?
Soren wants to figure out what it is down here in the crack that seems to kind of put a damper on the voices in his head. Because he's noticed, as he looks over there, that things dull a little bit. So there's something down there, he thinks, that may be relevant, may be able to give him a direction to go in, finally.
Are you just hoping to encounter something, or do you kind of have an idea of where you're going to probe to find more information?
Not really. I'm expecting it's going to be further down. I just kind of have to get down and explore, and maybe it gets more intense as you get closer to it. I don't know. But other than that, we're just kind of flying blind at the moment.
Oh, I had one more. Jake, I guess this is something I could ask during a session, but
Sure.
We're here. So, how much does it cost to like sponsor yourselves? Because I know we're obviously under right now the missionaries of the Cult of the Shattered God.
Yeah.
How much does it cost to get your own delving group?
You don't know the cost necessarily. Obviously, you have to supply your own shit.
Yeah.
But basically, you would have a general understanding of, like, it's a business that allows you to use their service, and it's sort of like earning partnership, I suppose, I guess, in a way. So
is it more is it a reputation thing?
it's a little bit reputation. It's a little bit being able to actually fund it. It sort of have to pass the eye test in a lot of ways.
So even like a rich group, if a rich group with unlimited resources came in, they wouldn't necessarily let them do it just because they had the money. It's a mix of resources and reputation to know that you are capable.
Yeah. Delvemaster Brahm is, I guess maybe you know the history of this a little bit. You were a kid, though. So, you would have seen dwarves, I guess, as a kid, be involved in a lot of the recovery efforts, especially because there were subterranean aspects going on. And so essentially there's a contingent of those people who are left over, and this particular guy basically, and his family and whoever works with him, essentially, sort of like the gold rush, and then some guys put up shop, and that's sort of where they stay. He's I guess he's sort of there will be blooded the location on accident. He struck oil, and it remained too lucrative to leave, and so now there's that. Because it's not a dwarven city, there's not a lot of dwarven folks here. In fact, there's a lot more west and off continent. But so it's kind of like that, I guess, if that answers the question without getting too deep into what you wouldn't know.
Mhm.
Well, I've kind of run through most of my um, deeper character questions. We got a few fan questions left, and then I've got a few fun ones that we can always talk about. But is there anything that I don't know, anything from the campaign so far that we haven't talked about that you just find interesting? Big, little thing, um, character moments, favorite jokes, favorite tangential bickering conversation thing.
I like every interaction between Ink and Isabella. I just want to say that.
Yep.
Because I think Sarah's good at role playing. I mean, everyone I think in the group is, but Sarah does that character well. And it's interesting having almost a reverse dynamic of Professor Elenia, where Sarah's playing the character that's more morally there, and Ink having to try and be like, maybe we shouldn't do that. I think that's fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I like that. I like watching somebody else be the doctor for a change. It's fun to watch Alex be stressed out. But, yeah, I think. Oh,
I was just gonna say he almost died in one of your last sessions. He was screaming in pain.
Yeah.
If he dies, he dies. I guess on game time, right?
Right. Yeah, I think for me though, the experience is a lot of the new rules and stuff that we're trying out at the table, like the physical props and the item cards and stuff, are really making this a much more engaging and fun experience for us, and I think it's going to be really fun as things go on.
The physical props have made it feel so much better, to the extent that I don't know if I ever said on stream, but I showed the people at the table, I got physical bullet props to keep track of ammo and stuff, just because it makes it so much more at the forefront of your mind when you're managing stuff physically. I like it a lot.
I mean, I don't think I've ever been in or been audience to a game where people are excited to have new obviously you get a magical item or something like that, it's cool, but then you're like, hey, I got a big chest of, hey, I gotta go through potions and stuff like that. But no, you guys were clearly having a lot of fun putting it into your inventory with the cards and stuff.
That was a problem. I think that D&D, it's so it's written and it's in your head and stuff, and that's where a lot of the good stuff comes from, because you can't do any of that in video games. But video games, loot is fun every time. It's never not been fun to have loot, specifically when it matters that you have the loot, like the idea of Tarkov, or the idea of I don't know, Skyrim, even though your inventory is gigantic, just having stuff that you can use. And then obviously we talked about it a little bit on stream, but the I don't know, just the problem that you get loot and then you just hoard it and you forget you have it, and we're not moving through items. I don't know. I like the idea of these guys. I said it on the Discord, but might as well say it here. I like the idea of you guys making a hard choice based on capacity or value or usefulness. When it comes to how you guys, and you already made these decisions, interacting with that trader, that would have been an interesting encounter. I thought maybe you guys had a minimal chance of should we just fucking cap this guy, and take his shit? But you didn't. I didn't necessarily think you would, but it would have been very fascinating to see what you did with.
I had the thought.
Well, that Bahir is quite a creature.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would have gone. It would have been pretty funny though. But yeah, the inventory to me was as a DM even, and then as a player, it just having stuff didn't ever feel fun. And then making up a bunch of loot. You see a bunch of loot tables and it's what's in the giant's bag, and you have a skull. I got some weird teeth. You got 14 copper and the corpse of 40 rats. that's fine and it's cool flavor, but like I like the idea of them going on a delve and not finding much of value, but coming back with stuff just because they had space for it, or just any of the decisions they might make. And specifically because of this inventory system, being overweight and having to deal with the speed debuffs and having to deal with, like, should we, two-hand this chest so we can get more good stuff out? Should we take chest down with us? How it affects, like, how they move around and what obstacles they can get over, and just like what would happen if you went on a loot run in real life in a dungeon. You'd want to get as much shit out as possible, but without sacrificing your survivability. So it adds a tension, and it will continue to add different tensions. And then they get upgrades and stuff over time, and maybe spells that help alleviate this. But it's fun. I dig it. I have not shared the system. No, I'll probably have like a pamphlet at some point. I know I have one for the players that are already out, but I'll probably sell those.
Are bags of holding things in your world?
Yeah, but they haven't run across this. Not that they necessarily have any reason to, but we might as well say it now. In campaign 1, at the end of it, basically the only plane of existence that was really stable and still there was the material plane. Bags of holding have slowly started to not work, and so there's very few of them available still. So they'd be terribly rare, and that's on purpose, obviously, but because bags of holding get a little boring. But that doesn't mean there's none. So we'll see what happens.
Is there a chance if you have a bag of holding then that everything just disappears someday because they're stopping working?
Well, it stops working and then it goes and it dumps everything out. So
I lost that.
I like to think the professor somewhere out there is still maintaining, like, every day painstakingly maintaining, like, pocket dimensions of bags of holding to try to, like, she just has too much shit. And then, like, bigger on the inside, Hartnell is, like, still one of those spaces. And, like, I like the idea that she's got to, like, maintain that.
I hope she's doing well wherever she is.
Sure,
I miss her dearly.
How many times do you think she's regenerated by now?
Oh God, that's a good question. Considering there hasn't been a world-ending threat in a long time, at most maybe one. I don't know, maybe none. Maybe she's been taking it easy, relatively speaking, and just doing research stuff and hanging out with Kasdan.
She traveled a bit in your epilogue, so with Kasdan and started a secondary institute. So
yeah, she's doing the institute. I don't know if I mentioned this, but since we're on this show anyway, the pamphlet that I got. Do you care if I share this?
No, that's it's in universe. It's canon.
The pamphlet I got at the beginning of the campaign that's like an in-universe explanation of the moon chips was written by the professor, and it was by Tin Top Publishing.
It was edited by the professor.
Oh, sorry. Edited by the professor.
Under the purview of the Institute, they printed these survival manuals because part of your thesis and this is just informed by you, and it was sort of a way for me to give you tutorial stuff, but it worked out serendipitously. Tin Top Press was what did their comic book for a while that they commissioned, which was hilarious. But and Bastyr, the guy with the noodles, that has become the printing arm of the Institute, and I guess the propaganda side of it, which is funny because it wouldn't necessarily be that. It's like I think she has good intentions and is like sort of like giving out these free pamphlets so that people will survive more often and be more adept at the space. And this is sent researchers to this place and understood sort of the culture of the moon chips and how they work, and they're all over the world. And then just sort of giving the tips where available, because free education is not a thing. But I think Professor really liked to tell people stuff that she knew. So why? Of course, she would spread the word through pamphlets. So yeah, all of them are printed with Tin Pot. They all have different dates, though, if you look at them. They've all come out in different years, and you can kind of see the evolution of like the stuff. There's little stuff everywhere, guys. Everywhere.
I hope, because it's like 30 years later. I hope someday in this campaign we get to learn a little more about what happened to our various. I mean, I know we did epilogue stuff, but you know what I mean.
Sure.
More stuff on our various characters and stuff from campaign 1. I think that'd be fun.
So does that mean Bastyr is loaded now?
Bastir would be a successful printing.
So he's got like hell
he'd be like-
noodles.
I mean, he might. Yeah, we don't know. Maybe he had like a Ryan Reynolds turnaround, and he's got like a. But I'd like to think he just embraced it.
He probably just bought out the noodle stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noodles all day.
Good for him.
So Urka from Discord, we kind of talked about this a little earlier, and you know, Twitter and everything. Wanted to know what inspired Soren to become an author, which I thought was kind of a fun question.
I think for him, it's he's always grown up with these voices in his head, and we haven't touched on it as much, but he has nightmares and visual hallucinations of all these horrific eldritch monsters. So he's always had these creatures and these stories in his head. And when he made his pact with whatever this entity is, it basically offered him the ability to put that into a successful work of literature. So he took that and he put his stories to paper, and sold that as his way to get out of that hometown and really make a life for himself safely, comfortably, someplace else.
We've kind of gotten the inside flap summary, and then like a summary of his first books, like first couple chapters.
Mhm.
How much of that did you sketch out beforehand? It kind of in creating the character. Like, do you know the full arc of both of his plots?
So I have the first book sketched out in detail, with the full plot for when we get to reading that in character. The second book I have less loosely defined at the moment, but I guess if that comes up, we'll have to flesh that one out more too. Yeah.
I mean, they're big sellers at the page stage.
First one is currently.
A follow-up question to that. So Soren's writing success was part of his Warlock deal? Question mark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good to know. I'm interested to hear more whenever Isabella gets around to it.
Yeah.
Not really Ink's genre, right? Ink was more of a hope.
Ink did want to read it once Isabella was done with it, just out of interest. Like, my friend wrote a book, of course I want to read it. But yeah, Ink has primarily read stuff on Arcana just because she's trying to figure out what happened to Sky, and stuff that's like pulpy adventure escapist stuff.
I mean, there's a reason those genres persevere.
Yeah.
Because they're great. So Orc123 from Discord wants to know what Ink's opinion is on Balls of Wool.
Balls of Wool.
Cat joke.
Oh, cat joke. Fuck you. She's not a cat. Just because she's a tabaxi doesn't mean she's a cat. God damn it.
In their defense, there was the biscuit kneading.
Well,
She always sleeps high up.
So only cats
Swaddled
sleep
in a
high?
curled up in a ball.
Has she not?
The other
landed on
cat
her
likes
feet?
to cuddle up with her.
She's neutral on balls of wool. End of statement.
No strong feelings. All right. Well, that is now officially canon. So, yeah, go ask further cat related questions at your own risk. So, just a couple fun ones. So, Randy, does the unseen servant spell? Does your unseen servant have a name, either that you, Randy the player, or Soren thinks of them as?
No, I think it's best not to humanize the help too much. You just have to respect their rights. So I keep it nameless and faceless.
See,
Wow.
no, you should get. I see why you get along with Isaac and Isabel. That makes sense. That tracks. Okay.
If you did, what like if you could just have a butler, a non-human butler that you couldn't dehumanize because they're just a spirit, what would you name them?
If I did?
Yeah.
Power move?
Jeffrey.
Well, I was going to say power move. Name it Nurse.
I'm not looking to get canceled tonight.
Power move.
So, Hannah, not to get too personal here, but we're kind of wrapping things up here. I thought we might go out on a fun one.
Oh, this should be good. Whatever this is, I'm sure this will be great.
I'm wrapping up. It's nothing. What is your favorite cheese experience?
In real life, what is my favorite cheese experience? Oh boy.
Yes.
Look at the fucking just like reminiscing.
No. Okay.
Why is it taking this long?
Randy, fuck you. Jake and I, one time, Jake, you were there for this. We went to Denny's, and this was during Denny's cheese. Denny's had a cheese fest.
We worked at McDonald's really late or something, right? We went to Denny's at like 2 a.m.
No, I think it was in the middle of the day. This was not a late night bad choice. This was a conscious decision we made at like noon, which makes it worse. So,
yeah, I remember this.
We went to Denny's Cheese Fest, and they at the time had a mozzarella cheese stick grilled cheese.
Oh,
it was like a
diner
styled grilled cheese, but also had mozzarella sticks.
And they were like
in it.
$4.
And we ordered 2 of these sandwiches each.
Yeah.
I think with us. Oh, and I got 2 orders of mac and cheese as my side.
I did not get 2 orders of mac and cheese as my side.
And I think I got a milkshake with it. I could be wrong.
I feel like there was dipping it in cheese as well at some point. It was cheese.
So bad. It was so
How many
bad.
weeks was it until you shit again?
We were so young.
We were
just from the context.
Were you even 20 yet? We were very young.
young enough that I could take that like a champ.
Young, yeah.
I could eat that, and my body was like, no problem.
That was like 10 years ago. Yeah, I remember that.
If I did that now, I would die. I would be a dead person.
If I remember correctly, I think one of the Hobbit movies was still coming out because they had Hobbit in the Hole stuff happening at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, this is how long ago that was.
That might have been during like the first Hobbit movie.
Yeah, I think it might have been. It was a while. Well, they did it every time, I think. Denny's did. I think they did literally every time it came out. Because there was 3 of them, so. But yeah, it was...
2012, that was a decade ago. That's the year I graduated high school. That's probably about right.
2012.
Did you say you graduated high school in 2012?
Yeah, we're 6 years apart.
Goddamn. You were that young.
When did you graduate high school?
2008.
Oh, I didn't know you were older than me.
Okay.
Well, I guess that's a compliment. There you go.
I knew Jake was older than me. I don't know.
Huh.
I mean, once you hit a certain age, everyone is either your age, really old, or a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Any other cheese lore that we should know?
Well, I mean the 2 people that love cheese most are sitting right here. I would be remiss. I'm vamping for time because you're chewing. I would be remiss to not understand Randy's cheese fantasies as well. I feel like it's unfair to Hannah to only unmask such deep-seated.
While he's chewing, I just want to point out one time. This was deep in when I was drinking way too much. I ate an entire block of Parmesan Reggiano on its own.
Like a bite of it, or were you like breaking pieces off?
I I was breaking pieces off and I ate the whole thing.
Sheesh.
Yeah, I do that.
Jesus. You both have
The
problems today.
alcoholic diarrhea offset the cheese constipation, so it was fine.
It's a perfect homeostasis.
Yeah.
It's
For the record, I'm better
The
now.
ideal
I
meal.
don't drink anymore, so I'm good. Still have a cheese addiction. A raging cheese addiction.
Yeah.
though.
I don't drink anymore. I'm just constantly backed up.
It does the
My
opposite.
number one
Just
is
blast me.
Striations from the different types of cheese.
yeah. My number one is going to be fresh Car Valley cheese curds. Still at room temperature for maximum squeakiness, and then still got that little salty cheese brine on them. Add a little extra flavor.
A connoisseur.
It's like heaven in your mouth.
So you're a man of taste. Well, I am also a cheesehead. I one time went to a specialty cheese shop, just all cheese. That's all they did, and spent way too much money. And you know what? I don't regret it at all. It was I bought special cheese bags that I still have that are supposed to preserve them longer. It was a good time.
Love it.
There's a place in Frankenmuth like that. It's just called like the Cheese House. It's full of
Cheese
cheese.
House.
It's really good. Yeah.
Das Cheese House.
Yeah, I think there's like a
I
little
mean-
mouse on it.
Highly recommended. I for a while my crisper drawer was just packed full of blocks of cheese. I don't know how I managed to be ambulatory most days. Because it's just good. I wouldn't eat them out of hand like an apple though. I mean, like I at least put them on crackers or something like that. But it's good stuff. That cheese, I think it'll go far.
All right, I got
chance.
a question here.
Okay.
Car Valley cheese, they deliver curds. Do I get the 12-ounce option or the 5-pound option?
Do you need 5 pounds at once?
I might.
Will you
What's
even
the-
eat it all at once?
I will certainly
eat
try.
In enough time. I think you'd die. Go for the smaller one. Maybe even get 2 of the smaller one. But don't buy 5
I'll get
pounds
4
of
of the
cheese.
smaller one.
Oh my god.
What's the per
That's
ounce
4.
price?
That's just 4 pounds. Wait, no, it's not. The 16.
No, it's-
Never mind.
it's
You said
low.
12s. Never mind. Okay. Still.
You can freeze cheese. It rhymes.
Man, that's not getting frozen.
Why would you let it get old, though?
It's going to break it down. It's not going to be as good when you thought.
All right. Hey, you know what else is good? Green beans, guys? No? Anybody? Big fan of green beans? Me?
Nerd shit.
Okay. Well,
Hey, I had and some roasted zucchini and roasted asparagus. A lot of roasting going on here.
The vegetable intake was not lobbed in your direction, Harf.
I'll have you know, I ate a salad the other day, okay?
All
How
right.
dare you?
The fact
It had
the fact that that's
cheese on it,
monumental when you live with Baja is
It was at a wedding thing. It wasn't at home.
fuck. It's not even, doesn't even count.
Was it part of the the 3-course thing, or was it
What
at least
kind
a
of
buffet?
salad?
Did you make a choice?
Was it like a Ruby
No,
Tuesday
it was
salad?
It was put in front of me, but I
Okay.
ate it. There was
Alright.
feta cheese on it, so it was fine.
All right. Any last questions that we have?
None from the Discord. If there's any last ones in the current chat, I don't see any.
No. So,
Well, Daughter Tiamat wants to know Cheese Wizard subclass 1. I don't know.
well, I guess I could do a cheese wizard at some point. I probably should. It's been a thing for a long time. Since before we even played D&D. Cheese wizard has been a thing. I suppose my last question is a similar question to what I posed to the twins last time. And that is, what is, if you had to pick the one thing that you think about most, looking forward to, or like a portion of the character you maybe think too much about? Like, what is your, because I obsess over different things a lot when it comes to D&D. Is there anything that like just you think about and you think about and you think about, or it comes up a lot? Is there a motif, I suppose, in either of you? I mean,
God, can you? What did the twins say? This is a very vague general question.
Well, it's just like what makes you? I guess when you get into the mind space of your character, I suppose, like what is a thing that when you think about your character, I guess that you wish for them, or that you're excited to experience as a player, or that just makes you excited to role play, like any of that sort of like the heart of the question. Like, is there anything that's like really driving you?
I outside of the like on the surface trying to figure out what happened to Sky, which is obviously a personal motivation. My motivation as a player with this character in part is in a world that is often dominated by magic, even though this is a low magic setting, still, the moon ships are a huge commodity and a lot of the industry is built around it. How do you have someone with no magical ability still use knowledge and skill to try and have agency in their life and better themselves and get higher up in sort of the social pecking order within a system that they have very little practical knowledge of? How do you survive in a world controlled by forces you fundamentally do not have control over?
I like that. I like the, I mean, obviously, we're dirty lefties, but I like that specifically the twins have to go against what their actual political beliefs are very regularly. And it's interesting you mentioned the difference between you and Sarah's characters now, like they're kind of flipped. I really like that you went from the chaos of the party to the one that's desperately trying to wrangle everybody into not being chaotic, because you deserve that sort of justice to befall you. So I appreciate that about this campaign. So same question to Randy. Do you have like a thing like that you just think about or want to explore, or?
I am really looking forward to kind of establishing a relationship with my patron, and kind of the way that we've talked about that progressing as things kind of unfold, and just getting into more of the spooky, eldritchy stuff that we've talked about.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. The patron is a particularly interesting entity that has a lot of stuff going on that I think is going to be very fun as you sort of get into it and hopefully survive to the end to discover. I think because I'm not personally a I don't really dig into the Cthulhu stuff. Even though I like it, I just never gotten my hands on it. It's always been sort of something that you learn through pop culture or stuff is inspired by it. So it's been interesting because I actually do research on the stuff you guys make your characters about. And so I've been consuming some of the content, I suppose. And it's been quite illuminating. It's definitely a different way to approach. I guess, is it evil? It's not. It like to call something like one of those eldritchy things evil is just relative to ourselves, which is kind of the point, right? So that's like.
It's like an absolute indifference to.
Yeah, and that's like what I like about it. It's just like how do you find motivation in a thing that is beyond our understanding of what motivation even means?
Right.
And so it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the conflict of how do we as people grapple with things that are way beyond our comprehension or really ability to do anything about.
What sort of Lovecraftian things have you consumed? Randy, did you recommend anything?
I don't know if I did. I know we've pulled from some of his stories for things like we pulled from Dagon a little bit for part of his backstory.
Yeah. It will not. I can tell you this: it is not a thing from any of those universes as far as like there's no right answer. Like it may evoke those things, but it's not going to be like what's the Azazoth? It's not going to be like, but it, because I don't want to just steal that, even though technically I think those have like Forgotten Realmsy or at least 5e adjacent, like you can use that stuff, but it is its own original thing.
Yeah, Haster I think is canon lore or whatever, and Yarlathotep or whatever. But
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I was just more curious because I was a big Lovecraft fan way back in the day. You know,
I don't want to give away my specific sources, but I've been listening to a few different sort of audio things because there's a lot of really good audio options. I've been consuming a lot of lore videos on YouTube to try to get that, and like, you know, people that sort of do media breakdowns of that sort of thing, so kind of like essayists. And Randy gave me a book that is a 5e supplement for Cthulhu Mythos, and I forget who made it, but it's a really, really great book. I think it's on the shelf over behind my head that you guys can see on Discord. And
Sandy Peterson?
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really cool book, and so I've read through that a few times, and yeah. Not cover to cover, but, you know, skimmed it and looked at certain specific things I'm interested in. And,
yeah, Lovecraft's weird like that, where the actual, like, the larger cultural impact is more interesting than the actual.
Yeah, it's almost like extended universe Star Wars stuff, where because people can just do a lot of stuff, but like Talison's from Critical Role, his one shot, the Curse of the Crystal Palace or whatever. I watched that, and that, like, I'd love to play in a Cthulhu game because of the system.
Me too.
But you can kind of only do like one shots of those, so like this is sort of a much slower burn, obviously, than you would in a Cthulhu game, I think, because you know, I think for me at least, watching any Cthulhu stuff, I think the people being very quick to die and like that's the end of their story is like fun in the Cthulhu stuff, and like at the end of the session, like only one or two people make it out, I think is really appealing to me. Whereas obviously in D&D we kind of are telling a longer story. So
yeah, I don't know if you've watched the Neptune Society at all. It's a Call of Cthulhu Let's Play anthology series that Jared
anthology would be really cool too.
Yeah, that's really interesting. He does a good job with that.
Well, I'm out of questions.
Cool. Well, there is actually one question for you, Jake, from Hobo Homunculus.
Okay. I guess I'll
who
show up.
wants to know what the most unique challenge of starting a new campaign in the same world as the previous one was?
The first challenge was waiting for these guys to finish the campaign, so like campaign 1, so that I could actually know like what was going to happen, because there are ways that this could have worked out to where it's a very different situation. And then the second
you told us about one of them like right after the first campaign. That was an interesting concept. The one, I don't want to say it in case you want to use it for a future thing, but it was the one where things aren't what they seem. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. There was also they had to make their characters and sort of flesh them out, and we're like, okay, like, what are we finalizing on? What are we circling on? Hannah and Sarah from the beginning were pretty much like, I think I want to play this, and you know, you're seeing what they're playing, and we kind of had a good idea of that, and then we got into the more minutiae as the game got closer. Alex and I had lots of conversations about what we were going to do, because he's got a very he's got a good idea for a character in Isaac, but we like magic didn't make any sense, and neither did Marshall. And so I just built a whole class, which that took a good chunk of time. Because, you know, the world isn't like something I build without the characters. So the characters have to kind of exist. And then once we settled on what Soren was going to be, even though we didn't have all these classes and subclasses like really, really fleshed out. And in fact, technically the class that, the scientist class that that Alex is playing is technically playtesting right now. I've already made one change during the game, and that was to increase his the die he rolls. That sometimes he gets to add to stuff. We increase the amount of times he can do that. But as far as the world's concerned, I guess the biggest challenge always is cities, settlements, stuff like that, because you want them to feel there's a balance to be struck between making a place that's cool and making every place this wacky, holy shit, one of a kind. Like, it has to feel also that like you can live a rudimentary existence inside of it. Like I like Ink's character like living in that city, being like really sort of jaded by the thing that makes it unique. And otherwise it looks like a normal city, but like the crack is obviously like a huge like thing. But it's making them fun to play in without making them always super ridiculous is because I think some DMs fall into a trap of like everything has to be the most whatever it is ever, or it's not interesting. And then I feel like if you do that too much, nothing is interesting because everything's too interesting. It's like if everyone's a millionaire, nobody is, but in like the concept of detail stuff. So that's the most challenging part, is to sort of like say no to yourself and then not always indulge every little idea you have, because it can get really convoluted. So
well, awesome.
That's my philosophy.
Well, that about does her. Wraps her all up. There's nothing else.
Nothing else.
Make sure to like, subscribe if you're not already. Follow Christmas Saves on Twitter. Do all the good stuff. You're all adults. You know what you need to do. I'm just reminding you that you need to do it. And yeah, tune in. What, Thursday? For the next session.
6 p.m. Eastern.
Maybe
I thought Alex got out a little later.
6. Oh, yeah.
It's right now.
Probably 7, actually. Fuck. But nonetheless, we'll be doing that. His schedule did change the other day. But, and then make sure to follow all of these wonderful people on Twitter. Give them your follows. All good. You could see some delightful food pics from Harv. You can hear problems about the medical community from Randy. And from Hannah, you can get high-quality cheese opinions. So
Also on Twitch.
I think cheese happens on Twitch as well. So Huckleberry pics? Wait, what?
Huckleberry is my rabbit.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I was thinking about Hannah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you again, Harv. Another one in the bag. Next time the groups are mixed up, who will it be? We'll see. We'll go a little bit longer, and we'll see when we feel like we got some interesting questions to ask.
Heck yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hannah, Randy, thanks for making the time.
Of course.
Definitely.
Good night, everybody.